Bonjour, Kinamagi Nene Ireland edition of Kas, and welcome to today's math review lesson. Today's topic, rounding and comparing decimals. All right, so let's begin with rounding. And let's start with 2.25, rounded to the tenths place. To be able to round to with decimals, you need to remember your place value. From the decimal point going to the left is whole numbers. This is the ones place. If I put a number here, it's the tens place. If I put a number here, it's the hundreds place. Going this way, we have tenths, hundredths, and if we needed 1,000ths. It does go on further, but for what we're doing right now, we're not going to do that to you. So let's say I want to round to this place, to the tenths. So what I have to do is I look at my 2 here in the tenths. I look next door, right there. If that digit is between 0 and 4, the 2 stays the same, and we're done. We'd have 312.2. So 312 and 2 tenths. But this one's up is a 5 or greater. So that means we'll add 1, just like in a video game, plus 1. And we end up with 312 and 3 tenths. When I say add 1, I don't mean add 1 to the ones place. You're adding 1 to the spot in which you are rounding. So let's do another one, 2.647. Let's say we're rounding to the hundredths place here. So I look next door, 5 or more, I add 1 more. And I do. So now I have 2.65. And I'm rounded. I can truncate, which means cut off everything else going that way. Goodbye. Bama P. So that is the key part of rounding. It's the same rules as rounding whole numbers. You just have to remember your place values. If you need to draw yourself a place value chart to do that, by all means, I recommend it. So now let's talk about comparing. Let's start here, 3 and 4 tenths and 3 and 41 hundredths. Whenever we're doing comparing, and that's less than, greater than, or equal to, I'm going to start on my left. I'm going to start at the decimal point, and I look to the left, and there's 3 in both. So I'm going to move 1 spot to the right. I have a 4 and I have a 4. Now, so I have to go further, 1 spot to the. Now let's say I don't have another spot here. So what could I imagine? That's a 0. 0 is less than 1. So 3 and 41 hundredths is greater than 3 and 4 tenths. Speaking of 3 and 4 tenths, let's say I have, let's take 1/100th away and say I have 3.4 and 3.40. Start in my ones place, 3 and 3 are the same. I go to the tenths, 4 and 4 are the same. I go next door, and what I'm allowed to do is if there is nothing, I annex a 0. Now you see that they're the same number, they're equal. So you're allowed to add zeros at the end of the decimal. You can't put it in the ones place or the tens place. It's got to be at the end, and you're good to go. You do need to pay attention to where your decimal is. A lot of times I get these, I have 35 and 2 tenths and 3 and 52 hundredths. When you read it using the words, it's pretty clear 35 is greater than 3. But a lot of times what happens is we look 352, 352, it must be equal. It's not. You have my decimal points. Notice right off the bat in my ones, I have a 10 here and I don't have a 10 there. By default, this one's 1. But even if I looked at the ones place, 5 and 3, 5 is greater than 3. So we're really just racking up the ways in which this one wins. So if you have 2 digits to the left of the decimal point versus 1, it's going to win every time. If you're still stuck, I do ask that you reach out. I'd be more than happy to provide further instruction or send you a link to maybe a Khan Academy video. At this point, I would like you to return to the Google Classroom to complete the assignment. We'll see how well you do. Ela Minagijigad, Minwa, Pamapi.